Now, the Nelson Mandela Foundation is this afternoon co-hosting a panel discussion that is set to begin at 4 p.m. this afternoon. The discussion is set to reflect on the 30 years of democracy in South Africa. So to tell us more about the event, we're going to be joined via video link by Clayton Lillienfeldt, World Movement for Democracy South African coordinator. Very good afternoon to you, Clayton. Thanks for your time on the SABC at this hour.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on the show and appreciate the time to talk about the World Movement for Democracy.
Let's actually get into it and look at what we can expect. Who's also expected to be on the panel?
Yeah, so, it is 30 years of our democracy in South Africa. So we're partnering with the Nelson Mandela with the Nelson Mandela Foundation because there's a whole series of events that's taking place. So Dr. Mamphela Ramphele will be one of the South African panelists, and Rebeleni Chikani will be the other South African person. And Maria Resse, who's the Nobel Peace Laureate from from Philippines, is with us in the country. And we really be talking about 30 years of democracy and looking at resilience, reflections, and innovation. And so the idea is to really look at how far has South Africa come, and I think we've had our challenges, and then looking at with the upcoming elections, how that's going to play itself, and that we still have a strong civil society. We had the Zondo Commission. We've had upcoming elections with more political parties and independents standing as president. And so we're hosting a global assembly in November. And the World Movement for Democracy was here in 2004 in Durban, where it looked at South Africa and lessons learned from South Africa, how to strengthen civil society. So in essence, it's going to be a wonderful afternoon of 25 years anniversary of the World Movement for Democracy. And I believe that the Nelson Mandela Foundation is also at its anniversary of 25 years. So it makes it apt for us to be here in the same space with the Nobel Peace Laureate, like Maria Resse, in a space which I call holy ground that we'll be talking and sharing today.
Oh, Clayton, thank you for that context, because as we look at the different dimensions, the political, the economic, the social dimensions of South Africa's democracy, or the transition thereof, I mean, what comes to mind 30 years in?
Look, I think we have rule of law. I mean, our court system is still exceptionally very strong. The fact that Parliament is still functioning, I think we won't say how dysfunctional it is in its committees and its implementation and compliance and regulation. But I think there is a vibrant civil society space. And so if you look at the new political parties that are coming to the fore, have strong civil society actors that are stepping up to really keep government accountable. And we know service delivery and load shedding are some of the major issues where some areas don't have proper water. If I'm not mistaken, we're on stage 6 today, right?
Well, it fluctuates, but obviously it has been heightened and then over the weekend, and then it was decreased as of yesterday. So we look at some of those challenges 30 years into our democracy, also just looking at electoral and governance reforms in our democratic process. And what are you observing on that front, given that we are in an election year and we're looking at some of the moving parts of this time round?
Yes, I'm not going to be an analyst and say, well, politically, I think the fact that the political space is becoming contested says that we have a healthy process around towards elections, and the fact that independents and provincial-based political parties formations are starting to take shape means that we are healthy, and local government elections went off very well. So for me, from a governance point of view, we are on track. I mean, we're in a year that there are 70 other elections taking place at the DRC's elections. So for me, is to really look at how South Africa is still a beacon of hope as and when people look at us of what we're doing in our country. So the fact that big industry and multi-corporations are still in South Africa is really great, because it means there's a trust in business and our economy to still stay vested in South Africa.
Oh, Clayton, we're obviously looking at this dialogue that is taking place. Perhaps you could speak to what time, if people want to log in, etc. Walk us through that information as we wrap.
So it's and thank God for COVID, it's over. So this is a live setting that's happening at the Nelson Mandela Foundation. I know the SABC will be doing a pre-recording and airing it at some point, but everything starts off at 3:45, and proceedings will start at 4 o'clock till 5:30 with a panel discussion, and then we have 130 guests that come from civil society, from government and big business, and some international guests that will be part of the discussions that will take place over the hour and a half that we'll be having.
Clayton Lillienfeldt, thank you very much for your time here on the SABC at this hour. World Movement for Democracy Southern African Coordinator. Speaking about the dialogue that's set to take place, as you mentioned, 3:45 is when it starts. We're looking at 30 years of democracy in South Africa. Some renowned panelists are going to be addressing some of the themes, particularly during this election year. Again, thank you to Clayton for joining us at this hour.